Good morning. I'm Valerie Shepherd, coming to you live. I'm pushing buttons. I love this beginning. I'm Valerie Shepherd, coming to you live from the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. I'm sitting outside. I have a wonderful perch here, and it's magnificent. Now, I often talk about one of my favorite connections to nature, and it's also a totem. I really believe that I have, oh, there's one. I often believe, I know that I have there you go. Can you see him? Yep, he's there. Animal totems. My three all begin with H's. H's. Funny that I'm a happiness zealot, and my three nature totems begin with the letter H. Hummingbirds, hawks, and herons. They all carry messages for dynamics going on in my life. And I'm often talking about them, but you don't often get to see them. And the lighting isn't perfect, but I'm sitting so that you can see my feeder, and hopefully they'll join the conversation today, because they are sort of the opposite of what I'm wanting to talk to you about. It's interesting, how life gives us symbology, and we get a chance to incorporate that symbology into our lives. So I'm always saying, hi, thank you for coming. If you sit here with me on my deck, you'll see me and hear me interrupt my conversation with you to say hello. Hello, come on in, birds. You can eat. Yeah, hi. Thank you for coming. Come some more. Come back. Come closer. Okay, so there you go. That's one of my tips for keeping life speaking to you, and staying in it in the moment is to interact with it in the moment. When you see a beautiful tree or a flower, you can connect to the joy within you by acknowledging that tree or that flower. And, it is divine, universal law. There's this cycle of reciprocity, and as you sow, so shall you reap. So why not acknowledge the magnificence that's in your life already as part of your practice, your plan for having more of it show up for you? That's my invitation. Go for it or don't. It's okay. So hello, I'm Valerie Shepherd, founder and CEO of the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. And self-mastery is mastering you in your life, like this whole thing. Master this instrument that you are, the music that you play. Master that instrument in your life so that you can exquisitely manage whatever your life brings your way. And your life is fertile ground. And let me tell you, as long as I've been teaching the principles that I teach and in my book and in my classrooms and in my workshops and in these happy chats even, there's not a single day when something is coming up that is giving me an opportunity to go higher into my consciousness and deeper into myself as a part of realizing my full potential. And you know what? I'm still learning things about what that full potential is, what I'm here for. Like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing in the universe right now? Like, I have an idea, and I'm not sure that it's exactly correct. And I'm going to continue on the journey to check in with that thought. So that's a part of what I teach, to kind of, as Jennifer Huff would say, get into your fluidity. My girlfriend, sister, exquisite self-actualization teacher, exquisite Jennifer Huff. What's the fluidity that's, wanting to roll into your life? And how are you being fluid with it? And so today I want to talk about something that comes up for everybody that I work with, my students, my clients, myself. It's called the emotional Upchuck. The emotional Upchuck. Good morning. Thanks for joining. the emotional upchuck, like that puking of emotion that happens in situations when we're not fully present and we're not fully conscious of the truth of ourselves and what's going on. Good morning. Thanks for joining. We're sitting with the hummingbirds. Let's see if they'll come and play with us. And we're talking about the emotional upchuck. So when we think about that, I always talk about clean up the emotional junk in your trunk. Because believe it or not, hi, sweetie, believe it or hummingbird in my face, believe it or not, that stuff is running you. And in many cases, the emotional junk in your trunk is actually running you ragged. It's keeping you struggling and striving when you are meant to soar and you are meant to experience the goodness and richness and fullness and, yes, happiness and joy of life. So the emotional junk in your trunk may be weighting you down. So I'm going to talk about this thing called the emotional upchuck, and maybe you'll relate to it. Emotions are just waves of energy, right? They just come and go if we let them. What often happens is I anchor in on them. Like there's a place and I want to feel that anger, and I want you to know that I'm feeling that anger. And it hangs around for a lot longer than it really needs to. Are you feeling me? And sometimes they get stuck and we have to do a conscious release move. Like one of my favorites is forgiveness. Like we have to do a conscious release move. Another one of my favorites is meditation. We have to do a conscious release move. One of my other favorites is working with my spiritual counselor, Michael Berger, working with my spiritual counselor to understand the dance that's being called to me, from me, through me, around me, and how the magnificence of my life is working as me, like I am an expression of my life. Like my life is not something out here and I'm like acting on it and living it. No, it's in here, this instrument. Life is in you and it's coming through you and it's being expressed as you. That's why this is so important. It's so important to understand what's running around inside us and how that might be running us. So when I think of emotional upchucks, when I think of them, they're often things like knee-jerk reactions. Something happens, and in this moment, it really may have very little meaning at all, except for the meaning I give to it from someplace in the past by my knee-jerk reaction. Good morning. Thank you for joining. My knee-jerk reaction. Boom, I'm going to take care of this. It just comes from nowhere. I'm not even conscious of it. And then all of a sudden, I sometimes become conscious of it when I'm on the other side. Have you seen that? Where boom, something happens and you're like, blah, blah, blah. You have a feeling, oh, and then boom, you lash out. And then all of a sudden you're like, maybe that wasn't really what was going on right now. Outbursts of anger, outbursts of resentment, that's the emotional upchuck. We throw up all over the situation. We get negative. We see it from a different lens that is maybe not really the situation right now. It happens. We feel victim energy. We feel victimized. It's not bad, right or wrong. It just is. Like we don't have to go to a judgment place with it. We could just be peaceful and quiet with it and know that's just something that's going on and that it's potentially coming from inside me and it doesn't really serve me. And I get to make a conscious choice. So emotional upchucks are from past experiences. Hi, bird. Come and play. Yes, hi. You can eat. It's okay. Emotional upchucks come from a place of the past, and then they're into this moment. It's a way that we keep the past alive far longer than it needs to be, and we bring it into the present where it absolutely doesn't need to be. And then that way it's holding us back. So I want to talk about emotions for just a minute because people have this idea that there are things called negative emotions. In fact, we are taught that, right? But here's what's so funny about it. If you talk to different people, their education around negative emotions could potentially be the same as yours or potentially be radically different. So think about this. I've taught all kinds of students, and I've worked with adults and young people as young as high school and as old as 85. Like, I actually do work with older people too. And what I find is true with all of us is we have a different education around emotions. So in some families, people are raised and conditioned to believe that happiness is a good emotion. Be happy all the time. And what they hear also is that anger or sadness is not allowed. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to show sadness. And they may hear it with a platitude like this: there's enough suffering in the world. Look at your life and how much you have. How dare you be upset? How dare you be sad? So they, over time, learn to be happy even when sad things are happening. There are people who are told, hey, no anger is allowed to be shown. That don't show me that anger. You better change that, or I'll give you something. Like, I used to hear, stop that crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. Sadness wasn't allowed. Hi, bird. Aw. So in some households, anger is only allowed by a parent, but not a child. So those young people might learn to suppress their anger. Well, the only thing about suppressing any of it, suppressing it just makes it hang out. Like, that's unexpressed emotion. It's got to go somewhere. It's in your physical body is where it's going. It's hanging around your aura is where it is. It's in your psyche. It's in your self, your expression of self. People used to talk to me. I talk about this in my book. People used to work with and for me sometimes told me that my energy felt angry. And that's not what I wanted. And in many cases, that's not what I was aware of. But it was there. It was there. It's nobody's fault that it was there. It was just stuff that I hadn't moved, I hadn't expressed. And so emotions are really neither good nor bad. They just are. The important thing is that you know what they just are in you and what they're related to and where they're coming from and how you're expressing them. I'm an advocate now of expressing my anger. Uh, I don't throw things and um, punch holes in walls and lash out at other beings. But what I do is allow myself to feel it. So rather than walk away from it or push it away or run in the other direction, I befriend my anger. I befriend my sadness. Sadness has been coming up a lot lately, which is really interesting for someone who talks about happiness, right? Wow, she's actually confronting, experiencing, expressing, and this is my favorite, making peace with sadness. Sadness that may have been there for a long time and not been honored, not been honored by me at the deepest levels. Upset is what becomes the upchuck, emotional upset that is not resolved, not allowed to thrive and flourish in a safe and responsible manner, is what becomes the emotional upchuck and becomes the emotional junk in your trunk, which is the anchor keeping you from that soaring that you wish to do, from that flying like the hummingbird, lighting on things for a time and taking joy everywhere it goes, pulling the sweet nectar out of life. So if you have some conditioning around emotions being good or bad, and that you shouldn't express some and you should only express others, I encourage you to reframe, like to go back to, where did I learn that? And make a choice in the present moment that is for your highest good. It doesn't matter where you got it. What matters is that you're very conscious about whether it's serving you now, not right, not wrong, not good, not bad, no punishment, no guilt, no shame, no blame, just, is it serving me? Is the way I'm managing and ruling my emotions. Like, it's not about getting, like, controlling them. I don't let this out. It's not about that. It's more about getting superiority over them. meaning I can flow them in the moment and I can make conscious choices even while I'm flowing them. It's the way that I can feel upset when someone's talking and not throw it up into the moment. Like I can go, oh, wow, that thing that they just said triggered me. I'm not so good at it in certain occasions. Like there's certain situations, like when something's playing on Fox News or um, I see certain things in situations that feel really charged with some of my old victim energy and some of my old, I don't understand that and I can't agree with it. Like there are times when my emotions get so that my ability to get superiority over them disappears. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm not on 100% of the time, and I don't even try to be. I just try to be better than I was a couple minutes ago. So this emotional upchuck and the idea of controlling emotions, it's more about flowing them. Waves of energy that are expressed and experienced dissipate. Waves of energy that are resisted. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. That's why a lot of people don't do coaching because they're afraid that some Pandora's box of stuff is going to be opened and they'll never recover. And what's actually true is they're not recovered now. Like that stuff is running you and it's not serving you. It's upchucking. You're just not conscious that that's what it is. You're just not noticing and discerning that you in that moment are not present. And what's really going on is some kind of emotional from the past is coming in. So some of the ways that you deal. So notice that if someone says something, when someone says something, when you're seeing a situation unfold and it triggers some intense reaction from you, one of the places to ask yourself is, what about this has something to do with me? I talked about that last week, how I'd gotten so riled up about something that I thought was about a dear friend, and it was really showing me what's going on inside of me. And it's powerful. That's, in fact, practicing what I preach later on today. I've had a couple conversations with my spiritual counselor. I've been doing journaling and some kind of real wanting to know where this is coming from and how do I release it. So we've done the where it's coming from, understanding that, and going to some healing work today, which I'm very excited about. Frees myself to really attract and what I want from being who I really am instead of these uh, I get costumes like like barnacles on a boat. They obscure the beauty of me um, because I'm hanging on to them. So I want to talk about this trigger. So something triggers. Here's how you know if you've got emotional junk in the trunk that needs to be released is how intensely it triggers you, like what comes up for you. That's a place to go explore. That's a place to go ask some questions. Why does me watching that trigger such deep emotion in me? What's it helping me remember? Maybe it's my soul saying, please take a look at this aspect of you that wants to be held, wants to be loved, wants to be heard, wants to be understood, wants to be embraced, wants to be loved, wants to be made peace with. Grammatically incorrect, but you get me. You get my meaning. So, what are the triggers? What are the words that trigger you? What are the people that trigger you? What are the things they say that trigger you? And how is your emotional upchuck coming into the moment? When you can stay in the place of neutrality, when you can stay detached from the situation, even while you're working to improve the situation or help someone else go through the situation and not take it on as your own, that's how you know that you're free and clear. That it's not really trying to talk to you, it's not really happening from you, to you, for you, about you. The idea is not necessarily preventing emotional upchucks by holding them down. by resisting them. The idea is to release the need for emotional upchucks by understanding what is going on in the emotional junk in your trunk. There's so many ways to get help with that. I would love to serve you if you're looking for some support. Happy to help you. Reach out to me, private message me. You can contact me through the website for the Hartley Center, which is at hartleycenter.com, or Valerie at hartleycenter.com. This has been the Hump Day Happy Chat on Hummingbird Happy Day. Let's see if they come and say farewell along with me. I'm delighted to spend this time with you. Thank you for joining. I really want to ask you to share this with somebody. I guarantee you there's somebody out there for whom this could burst open a whole new chapter in their experience of life, their expression of themselves, and the journey, their journey in this universe. I'm Valerie Shepherd. I'm wishing you, I'll say the meta prayer over you. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings awaken to their true nature. Your true nature. May you awaken to your true nature. And may all beings be free. That is the Karanaya Metta Sutta from the Buddha, the teaching on loving kindness. Many blessings. Happy Hump Day. Go out there and have some fun. See you later. Thank you so much for joining and sharing. Many blessings. Bye-bye now. Bye, hummingbirds. I love them.